bunch of creators that we work with, they think that more views equals more success. That's kind of their general measure of success. So I think that is the biggest social media defect in general, where we're chasing dopamine. And right, so I rather have a post with 2,000 views and 10 people comment the ManyChat keyword than a reel that got 100,000 views because a bunch of people saved it because people love to consume free content. Posting every single day for me is easier than posting 3 times a week, because now I'm starting to think. I'm giving myself way too much time to think. The moment I pause and stop, I'm gonna start overthinking. I definitely start with high ticket, and so it makes no sense to create a low ticket offer if you don't have an audience. But I see people make that mistake all the time.
You can be showing up online, putting out great content, even building a real audience, and still feel like something's missing. It's not traction, it's not talent, it's just clarity. My guest today has built a $1 million marketing agency by solving exactly that problem, not just for herself, but for CEOs and creators who know they're capable of more, but can't quite see the path forward. Milou Pietersz is the founder of Simply Multimedia, a Forbes-featured creator and someone who's figured out how to turn personal brand into actual business without the burnout, the cringe, or the constant content treadmill. This conversation is for you if you're putting in the work but questioning whether it's actually moving the needle. If you've built something real but still aren't sure how to show up as yourself in it, or if you're just tired of optimizing for algorithms instead of impact. Milou, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. What a great intro.
Thanks. Is there anything that you would add that people should know about you?
Maybe that I'm not from here originally. I don't know. But I don't know.
Your home is Amsterdam, is that right?
Yeah, the Netherlands.
The Netherlands. Are you actually from Amsterdam or somewhere out of the city?
Somewhere out. I mean, my family lives in Amsterdam, but yeah.
Okay. Very nice. Well, yeah, I followed along with you during the holidays when I think you posted a reel of like travel with me back to the Netherlands in like 60 seconds or something that I thought was great.
Yeah, the fries.
I loved it. Well, let's dig right in. When you audit a creator's social presence for the very first time, what are the things that you look for? What are the patterns that you see over and over again? Because as somebody who works in kind of the membership space, I know that one of the first things I always do is I'll go to people's social platforms, and there are a couple of things I look for, but I'm sure as somebody who specializes in that area, there are things that you look for. So what's the first thing you look at when you go to somebody's social platforms?
So the first thing I look at to kind of audit where someone is at is what is their offer. Usually in the link in bio, they have like an offer, like to your point, either a subscription, maybe a program, maybe one-on-one coaching. And then I also look at the audience size. Now, the only reason I look at that is because it tells me how well they're monetizing attention, or how they're monetizing attention. Because, for example, for myself and our team, we do not work with quote unquote influencers who monetize simply by platform and engagement, but we monetize creators who have a business behind their audience. And so there's a lot of things you can tell from audience size and someone's offer, because, for example, if you have a lower ticket offer, you need high volume to make a lot of a good sales stability. Now, if you have a smaller audience, you don't necessarily need volume if you have, let's say, a high ticket offer. And so that kind of gives me a little bit of an idea on, when we work with clients, how long it takes for them to see some type of results, or the kind of ROI they're looking for, etc.
So you're looking at the offer and the price of the offer before anything else.
Yes.
And that from there, you then look at their the number of followers they have. Does that give you enough to move forward, or is there like then a third metric? Because I know that the first thing I look at is, because I'm generally coming with a knowledge of like, I already know what the offer is for price. I also look at following, then I look at engagement, and on Instagram, I'll just scroll through on both desktop and mobile because I want to see comments and shares and all that kind of thing. Do you do that as well?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So engagement wise, it's more to verify, hey, their audience size is legit, or they have people that are engaged, or they didn't just go viral once and have irrelevant followers, So definitely, yes, engagement wise. Though right now on Instagram specifically, it is kind of up and down, which is funny, but it does. If I see someone who has engagement up and down, it actually shows me a healthy account. because social media nowadays is more interest media. And so followers are not guaranteed to give you views, engagement, and that kind of stuff. But yes, generally speaking, to have engagement, have an interactive audience, not that you have hundreds of thousands of followers and no one interacts with you.
Yeah, that's always a little bit painful when I end up on a creator's Instagram and they've got 150,000 followers and their last 20 posts have a collective maybe 10 likes
Yeah,
or comments,
yeah,
and I'm like, well, we have a problem here. um,
yeah,
I'm
100%.
I'm curious, what is do you have a type of creator that is really like in your wheelhouse or your specialty, or do you kind of cover across the board? I know you mentioned something there about influencers and that not being your cup of tea, but I'm curious, like, do you have some criteria of who you work best with or where you think you get the most or best results?
Yeah, so right now we're really enjoying working with health and wellness creators and business, partially because of my background as an athlete and having a big interest in that topic, as well as a lot of people on our team were very competitive and like we continue to push each other on the wellness side of things. So that is definitely one where yeah, we are spending a lot of time on right now, and we have some great case studies as well. And I do think it's an industry that just has so much potential because like people are always looking for the health and wellness next thing. So one of our case studies that you are aware of is a Chinese medicine practitioner, a personal brand. And so again, there's so much knowledge there that people want to consume, that it's set up for success on something like social media, and certain industries just grow faster than others. But yeah, we work with a lot of different industries.
What patterns do you see when you're going through kind of your diagnostic process of what's the offer, what's the following, what's the engagement? What patterns do you see over and over again that you wish more people were either aware of or were cautious of avoiding, maybe?
Yeah, I think a pattern we see is that you really need to repeat your message, right? Saying something once is not enough. Right? When you say it once or twice here and there, and I know you talk about this a lot in your content about people feeling salesy, and I hear this a lot too from clients, and I constantly have to remind people, even repeat my message to them and say, hey, you need to repeat your message. People don't know what you do, and by the seventh time they hear it, now it clicks and they're like, okay, okay, I'll join. And I hear this from my own membership and my own offers all the time too, where someone's on my email list for a long time and then they give in, right? And I think that is something you really need to ingrain into people, because if you don't talk about your own offer enough or repetitively, it's not going to sell no matter how long you're posting and doing things.
I think the image that just came to mind there was kind of like so I have a bunch of little kids. Obviously, I have 4 kids now, and my mom keeps giving them these geodes, which are like rock. They look like rocks, and they come with a hammer, and it's a great activity for kids because the activity is just smash the rock until it explodes and opens
Yeah.
up. But that came to mind because I think more people need to think of it as too many people think of their message as a silver bullet, like with a werewolf. Like you shoot a werewolf with a silver bullet and it dies. I think you need to think about it as a geode where you're taking a hammer to it and it's going to take 7, 8, 9, 10 strikes with that hammer before it finally cracks open and lets you see what's inside. As a creator yourself, I'm curious, how do you get over that hump? Like, are there any processes in place that you have or reminders of, hey, I know I've said this a million times to my audience, but I need to say it again this week, or I need to say it once a week or once a month or whatever it is, whatever the cadence is. What do you have in place to help yourself with that as a creator?
That's a great question. I don't know if I have something specific in place, but for me, that's the mindset shift happened when I started to actually increase my posting frequency. Now, that might sound weird because, like, a lot of people, think it would get worse. So, for me, what I always tell people, posting every single day for me is easier than posting 3 times a week. Because now I'm starting to think. I'm giving myself way too much time to think. The moment I pause and stop, I'm going to start overthinking. Now I'm seeing other people's content, and it creates way more overthinking. Whereas if I increase my posting frequency, I have unlimited tries. And so if something flops, I mean, I don't care. Like, there's the next post and there's the next thing. And it gives me way more room to be promotional and salesy because I have more posting slots every week. So someone who only posts once or twice a week, of course you're going to feel salesy if all you talk about is your offer. If you only have 2 slots a week. For someone like myself, if I post 2 times a day, I can talk about my offer every day because every other post can be something else, something engaging, something fun. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that.
I think that is exactly right. I mean, the answer there is just do it more, right? Like
Yeah.
I had the same experience with my kind of adoption of AI because going back now almost 2 years, I started using it daily almost 2 years ago. And I was one of the early adopters at my company of people using it that often. People are like, how do you know what to do with it? Where do you know what to do with it? How, like, where are you even coming up with ideas? And for me, it was, I'm just using it for these things that I already know I need to do it for. And the more I use it, the more I have more ideas for it. To the point
Yeah.
of a year ago, I used it to negotiate buying a car. I was buying the most expensive car I've ever bought because I needed a huge one because I have too many children, or just enough, depending on your perspective. And the sales rep decided that she should text me to negotiate, which is a terrible idea because I'm a bad negotiator in person. I just am. And she started texting me. So I just started screenshotting and putting it in AI. And it
That's
helped me
hilarious.
get like close to $15,000 off the sticker price doing it that way. And it
That's
was only
amazing.
because I was using AI so much that it was like, oh, I can use it for this and this and this. So it sounds like you experienced something similar with your content, which is if you're only doing it every other day, there's a day in the middle there where you're just forgetting and maybe not thinking about it. But when you're thinking about it and doing it every single day, the likelihood that you're going to have more ideas and inspiration is going to increase, right?
Yeah, it's so true because I tell this to social media managers who struggle to manage other people and then, put themselves on the back burner. It's like the reason you're running out of ideas is because you're not doing it enough, just like you said. Because for me, I have unlimited content ideas. Literally, people can ask me on the spot. I give them 20 ideas because we live and breathe social media. That's all I do. I think in content ideas at this point.
Well, I think the one you put out this morning that was like when you're a day in the life or whatever is edited like reality show. I
Yeah.
thought that one was so good. I feel like there's so much potential. Is that a trend that's happening right now? Because if it's
Yeah,
not, I
that's
feel like
actually
it's
a
going to be a
trend.
trend.
Yeah,
It
it
is.
is a trend happening.
That's the
And
first time.
it's,
Yours is the
yeah,
first time I've seen it, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of potential with this trend. There's a
yeah,
lot. I
yeah.
love that. What's the most common thing you find creators doing when you're working with them that they think is working, but is actually maybe holding them back?
I would probably say jumping on trends in terms of like focusing too much on top of funnel. So as you know, a bunch of creators that we work with, they think that more views equals more success. That's kind of their general measure of success. But what they don't realize is that I need to kind of teach them that some of the content gets less views, but they get more comments that lead into a many chat, and they are now leads, right? So I rather have a post with 2,000 views and 10 people comment the ManyChat keyword than a reel that got 100,000 views because a bunch of people saved it because people love to consume free content, right? And so I think that is the biggest social media defect in general where we're chasing dopamine. And I need to stop myself from that too. And I recently had that reset with myself on like, hey, focus less on the views and focus more on value. And then I am a marketer, but for people who aren't even in that, field, I think it's even harder.
Going back to what we were just talking about, I'm still thinking about that. Like the more you do it, the more you have ideas. For the person who's listening to this, that's thinking that sounds great in theory, but here's my list of excuses as to why I can't do that. What's your rebuttal to them? Like what do you is there any argument you've ever found from like when you're talking to a client that actually got them to move and go from posting inconsistently or maybe every other day to every day, and then the snowball effect takes hold and then they finally have the more and more ideas?
So it's tough because we mainly do it for clients, right? So we don't really do it with clients. But what I found is that when you don't have content ideas or you freeze or you feel stuck, is because you're trying to come up with content ideas in a way where it's like, okay, this is what I think I should be posting versus documenting your process. I always tell people if you want to build your personal brands, document what you're doing. And I tell some clients that like I have no clue what you do from day to day and I work with you. So like I would love to see that. I want to see what your day looks like, your morning, what is, what do you do on the behind the scenes? And I think that is such a powerful way and it's very much preached by Gary Vee and other top, marketers and creators. Document what you're doing. Everything's content, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the most common argument I know that people come up with to that is something that I'm sure I've said myself, which is like I sit in this room and work on a computer for 90% of my day.
Yeah.
How do I turn that into content? Or what if the response is just, I'm boring. There's nothing to film. How would you respond to that?
That's a good one because I've used it too for sure. Whenever I get asked to do a day in the life, just like you, I'm at my desk and like it's not glamorous, but I think it's the moment we hop off a call. Maybe we come off this podcast and we have tens of millions of ideas to talk about. That's when you pull out your iPhone and do it versus preparing too much for it in terms of like, okay, this is what I'm going to record. This is going to be the hook. So I always tell clients while we assist you and help you, if you feel inspired, pull out your iPhone and wing it. That is a great place to start. Just to get it out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And especially nowadays, we don't want it to be perfect, right?
Yeah, exactly. The perfect example of that is this morning I got home from dropping off my kids at school and I was like, I had an idea. I don't even remember what it was, but I was like, oh, I'm going to capture this thought in a story. And I'm going to do it with my dog, my dog is obsessed with me in a good way. But like I got down on the floor, I pulled out my phone, hit record, put my arm around him, and then he hit both of his paws on my shoulder and just like knocked me backwards onto the floor. And I ended up getting a clip of him just tackling me and me laughing. And
Yeah.
I completely forgot what I was going to talk about,
Yeah.
but I'm still going to post that because it's still a
Exactly.
piece of content that's like,
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Other people probably think it's funny. And
Yeah.
I didn't even set out for that to be the end result, but it works anyway. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the key is like sometimes you set out to create one thing, you end up with something totally different and it's even better. Like I remember a few years ago, I was making a video for Uscreen of our CEO PJ. We were doing something that was like health and fitness related, and he wanted us to stage this like back and forth of us talking on Zoom and him on his bike on camera, and we did the back and forth. It was kind of scripted. I got it back. I'm editing the footage, and I was like, this is so cheesy that I don't
Yeah.
like, I'm not excited about actually publishing this content. And so then all of a sudden I just had the inspiration. I heard the music from The Walking Dead playing in my head. I was like,
Yeah.
this is a horror clip of like a super intense boss trying to like get me to do something that I don't want to do. And I turned it into that and it's hilarious. It worked so much better than the
Yeah.
original intro. And
Right.
no one remembers it anymore because it was when Uscreen had way less people, but it was iconic back then. But it didn't set out that way and it turned into something even better. And I think that happens more than people like to give it credit for.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about some of the success stories that you've had with clients. I know there's one specific client that you took from, I think, 1,200 followers to over 400,000 in, I think, a matter of 12 months. And they were then signing many high ticket clients a month as a result. Can you kind of walk me through what was happening before you stepped into the picture and then what you did and what changed as a result?
Yeah, so for this client, and it's actually it turned into such a great case study because it's exactly what we preach. So before they took us on, they had a VA who was editing content. They were posting for them, doing the usual. The funny thing is, the content almost didn't really change when we came on, but we started optimizing things like we wanted the client to start off with stronger hooks, different certain topics to talk about that we would research and we would find out other people are talking about this or they're going viral on that topic, so we should give our opinion on it. And so that's what we started doing. And like in the first few months, I mean, it was pretty regular and going through the motion, just optimizing. And then all of a sudden, things started to take off where we came up with this concept. And again, this was a Chinese medicine practitioner. So we came up with this concept, and we were like, so in Chinese medicine, they do tongue readings. I don't know if you're familiar with that, to address someone's health. And so we came up with the idea on pulling celebrity tongues for her to read their tongue and tell them about their issues. And if you've ever had a reading like that, you know it's like super accurate, and it feels weird because they can tell by your tongue, right? And so we started doing those where she would do assessments of all these celebrities, and it started to go viral, like crazy viral. And so we doubled down on that, and she was like nonstop cranking out these videos for us at that point. And so funny enough, we didn't even have, it's almost like we weren't, you don't know when you go viral, right? So obviously, best case scenario, great. So what we did, as we noticed we start to go viral, we're like, okay, we're going to implement a super low ticket offer where you can read people's tongue virtually. They will send you a picture of their tongue, and we charge them, I think we started off with $49. It has gone up since, but we said $49. They submit a photo of their tongue, and you're going to send them a video with the results. And so we, super scrappy, we implemented that, set up a quick form, and made that the call to action for every video. And it started to go super crazy to where, she almost started to burn out on reading people's tongue. But now we had insane traffic aligned with an offer. And of course, the end goal was for people to work with her one-on-one, right? To get treatment and all of that stuff. But it was an entry offer for people to get in. And that way we could monetize all that traffic that we're having. And especially because people started to ask, oh, can you read my tongue? What about my tongue? And so we were like, perfect, we can read your tongue. And so, yeah, that was just like a really fun case, as it just started building out from there. And a lot of people from the tongue readings would upsell into one-on-one with her, which is higher ticket. And yeah, the rest is kind of history.
I have so many questions. First, you're saying tongue, right? Like she
Yeah,
would tongue readings.
yeah.
I have never ever heard of a tongue reading in my entire life. That's a
You
real
should
thing.
get one. You should 100% get one after.
What is it like? What can she tell people from their tongues?
Like everything about your health. So like she can tell, like it's pretty creepy to the extent to
I'm feeling
she,
really self conscious about my tongue right now.
yeah, I mean it's a private reading, so you can totally submit your tongue. And she can tell you things like, okay, you take naps at, for example, 3 p.m. Like I can tell that your digestion is not working well, and you probably get really tired around 2 to 3 p.m. And you do X, Y, and Z. It's really accurate. I've worked with her one-on-one. I've obviously tongue readings are part of one-on-one too.
Wow.
And yeah, everyone is blown away by how accurate it is.
I'm curious how when you that low ticket offer got put into place, like the $49, how long was the reading that she was sending to people? Was it like
It was around
5
five
minutes?
minutes. And
Okay.
so
And
it was pretty easy for her to do.
what was the
It just
volume she was doing?
our highest volume was $10,000 of tongue sales in a month. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
so many tongue readings.
Yeah. So at that point she said, Milou, we gotta hold. This is
I mean,
going
that's a great
great.
problem to have.
Yeah. And so like I think today it is 149. But at some point it was 99, or yeah, 99 and 149 now.
Wow. That's incredible. What's the is that that's a big transformation both in terms of followers and revenue. Is that the biggest kind of revenue transformation that you've had for a customer, or is there something even bigger than that you've seen as a result?
So it's hard. Well, obviously for her it worked out really nicely because not only like it was all around. Her social grew, her business grew, and even to the point where she started to do partnerships because she has a huge audience now. And so in every single area, she was definitely, the biggest case studies. But we've had other cases with smaller following too, but typically these are higher tickets where we get people like 4 to 5 leads a month. We have someone in the finance industry, smaller audience, not necessarily huge growth month over month, but they constantly get new leads in through social media. And especially if you're a service-based business and have the retainer model, it obviously makes a lot of sense to bring in leads that way.
Okay. You've said this, I think, in your content, but I think you also mentioned something like this earlier in the conversation, that you're a business owner with influence and not an influencer with a business. What does it look like to actually make that shift, especially for somebody who maybe has been creating content for years and has either identified themselves as an influencer already, or maybe they haven't, and they're creating content, have an audience, but they haven't built a business behind it?
Yeah, I think there's endless opportunities, right? I think the biggest thing when you start off as an influencer is figuring out what your audience is actually interested in. Because that is the hardest part if you build the audience first and then the offer, is you don't know what people are interested in versus I have an offer and I'm building accordingly, strategically. And so figuring out what your audience is actually interested in, if you get a lot of DM requests on certain things, if you want to roll out an app membership or a program or a one-on-one offer, you can run a beta, see if there's interest, set up a wait list and all of that good stuff, and then start to monetize it more into a business so that you don't just rely on brand deals and monetizing views through the social media platforms themselves.
What do you do when you run into an instance where you are talking with a creator who has an audience and they have an offer, and let's say they have engagement, everything's in place, but the conversions aren't coming? Let's say maybe it's the wrong product for the wrong audience. What do you do in that scenario, especially if there's something like with Uscreen or some other platform where you're tied in for like 12 months, and somebody wants to make the most of it, and you're like, hey, well, this offer that you've got for them, for that audience, really is kind of missing the mark. What do you do in those scenarios when they come to you for help?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think, for us, we do generally look for a proven offer. So before you make that investment, I do recommend have something proven. Otherwise, you're testing forever plus investing a lot, right? And so that usually doesn't make sense for most people. But just as a general advice, I definitely recommend at least testing it for a full year, at least, right? And then I would ask people too, like, what have you done? Because a lot of the times people say, oh, I've done everything. And then I ask them, well, what have you done? And like they name a few things, or they have done things for short periods of time. Like something I would recommend if you're going all in is, let's say, doing 4 launches a year. Can be different launches each time, so you can test and see what people are interested in. Do sales calls. Like even for a low ticket offer, I did that in the very beginning of my membership, where at first I was like, is this worth my time? Maybe not, but like market research at least, getting in front of people, building trust. So I definitely think it's super valuable in terms of getting information and seeing what people say, and then kind of auditing it from there on whether it's actually the offer or whether it was your strategy and your efforts.
So, would your advice? What about somebody who has an audience and comes to you and is like, I want to continue growing my audience, but I also want to build an offer for them, and I just don't know quite what that is yet. Maybe I have these 3 ideas. How do you help them narrow down to the right offer for that business? Is it doing some of those initial sales calls? Is it just test, like, are you just gonna, do you stick with that kind of just test it and see, or is there another kind of process you take to things?
That's a good question. I think like running a beta on an offer is always the way to go, or a wait list. So that typically a wait list shows is there interest. So before, for example, let's say our current clients will launch an offer or a product, they get excited, right? They're like, oh, we gotta launch this, we're gonna make a ton of money. And the first thing I would say and do is like, let's create a wait list. Before we go all in and we spend all our time and money into this, let's create a wait list and see if there's even demand. And I think that's for anyone out there too. Like without putting prices out there, see if your audience even is interested in potentially joining without knowing the price, and then moving forward, or maybe not moving forward. I think that is the number one thing. And then depending on the type of offer, if it's a low ticket offer, then you of course you can launch it way quicker, versus a high ticket offer where you might run a beta group and all of that stuff.
Got it. So I've been running this podcast now for almost 2 months. Finally committed to like start putting out content regularly about 2 months ago, and I know we kind of follow each other and interact on social every now and then. So I'm curious from your perspective, if you were to tell me, and I'm not like looking for you to like give me free advice, but like if you were to look at my content and be like, hey, this sucks, or this sucks, or you could do this better, like where do you think I'm leaving the most opportunity on the table right now? Like roast me.
Yeah,
I'm here for it.
I'm ready. I'm ready. So I think for you, currently your entire strategy is repurposing the podcast. And from my experience, that doesn't always perform the best. So I have a YouTube channel and I repurpose whether it's a podcast or a channel that educates. I know it's not my best performing content. It's just there to drive traffic and create awareness. So I would limit that to an extent and create more top of funnel content so that you get more visibility to drive people to your page. And then really think for yourself too, what do you want to be known for? Like, I know what you do, and so I know you have all this knowledge in these different areas, and I often reach out to you too to see if you can help with certain things. And so instead of just being a coach for creators, we know it's super general, right? Maybe it's specific for the subscription model because I feel like that's where you specialize, and it is a specific niche. It's challenging. It's not a lot enough coaches and people out there for that specific problem. And then introducing that regularly to people too, like who don't know who you are. You know, hey, I'm Daniel. This is what I do. Here's who I help and who I've worked with and things we implement. Implementing carousels to have a well-rounded content strategy. Like if you were to build a membership from scratch, what would you do? What would that look like? And like we were talking about earlier, I have like a million content ideas that I can Milou GPT out on a paper. But yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Do you have a custom GPT that's like a Milou GPT?
Not fully, no.
No.
Actually, 8 years ago, I started doing a lot of AI stuff, but no, I don't have a completely custom GPT.
I created a Daniel GPT like a year ago
Yeah.
just to see if I could learn anything about myself, and it was a little eerie to be to be honest. But I appreciate that insight. I had a question for you, kind of to dig a little bit deeper on that, and it's escaping me right now. Um,
The repurposing,
the
finding your
repurposing.
yeah.
So I've seen I have seen other people take podcasts and repurpose them in it, and it's successful. I think one thing that I'm interested in, I was listening to a podcast this morning with somebody who is a social media person, and her thing was a lot of the content she tries to put out, regardless of whatever the format is, she wants to give people a piece of information that they can then go do something with and find out that it's true, so that because that builds trust, like them going by her giving them something actionable that they can go do and see if it gets them results, which in most cases it will. That builds trust for them, or for with her in them. uh, and so they'll come back and then watch another piece of content, get something else valuable, go do it, come back, and again and again. Do you think that there's what do you think about that as a strategy?
So I think in theory it works,
Yeah,
but I feel like in practice often it doesn't work like that. And I'm assuming this is someone who already has built their audience too.
exactly. Of course.
Yeah. So like that's always the case. The same as like I was waiting for you to bring up like Mel Robbins or those podcasters and like all they do is snippets. But at the same time they're strategic about their snippets because that is a thing. Yeah, it's not that snippets don't perform, but it needs to be really a snippet that has a strong hook or on screen, I don't know, something controversial or to that extent to where it really gets attention. And as you're still building your brand and that visibility, I think having more top of funnel content can really help get more attention first. And then
Yeah.
they're like, okay, well, this guy is worth listening to. Let me go check out all the other pieces of content. And at
Yeah.
the same time, I do think for momentum, it doesn't hurt to add those in extra. Even if you just post them to the Reels feed to have extra content going, it does remind people of you because I've seen your consistency and it does help and it does work.
Let's say I'm posting a podcast clip a day, which is pretty much my cadence right now because I'm filming these long form episodes. I'm easily able to get 5, 6, 7, 8 clips, which makes it so that I can post one a day and repurpose that into text for other platforms and whatnot. But I'm getting to the point where, kind of like we said earlier, I'm starting to have more ideas and thinking of other things that I can be creating or doing. Do you think it's bad to, like, how much content is too much a day to be posting, or is there a limit?
I post around 4 to 6 times a day, and I think a lot of people don't realize that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it
Um,
is because I have so much to say, honestly. Yeah.
and I think what's ironic is that you and I both work with creators, and the number of creators, myself included, who have this odd aversion to putting themselves on camera is kind of silly. Like it's a much higher amount of people than you would think. For example, like I just mentioned to you that clip of my dog tackling me. Like it was a struggle to force myself to pull the camera up for that. I know I'm not the only one who struggles with that. Like it's one thing to get in front of a camera and teach, but when you're going to do something where you're trying to go more top of funnel and maybe going for a little bit more entertainment value, it feels a little bit more vulnerable, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. So I'm
Yeah,
curious, how do you tackle
maybe.
that?
Yeah, I think maybe also you're leaning into like, oh, this feels cringe, probably. When like
I think
talk.
it's all cringe right now, but
Yeah.
hopefully I can get over that. You have to get over that part.
Yeah, I think also leaning maybe more into the fun side of social media. So what I find for myself when I ever feel burned out on things to talk about and repeating the same message over and over, I'm like, okay, how can I have fun again? That's when I lean into the reality TV show edit. I'm like, this is hilarious. And like, I find it fun. It's like art as a creator versus, doesn't have too much to do with what I do aside from being an agency owner. And that's how I feel too with entertainment stuff, the silly stuff, just having fun. And it shows a bit of personality. It drives a lot of views, not customers, but it gets attention. And yeah, that for me works really well. Whether it's a fun trend that's going on and everyone has their own take to it. Um, for me, that yeah has just kept it fun overall.
Yeah, anytime I think of reality TV, I just think of Love Island and somebody in an English accent saying, "Want to have a bit of a chat."
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like there's a reel just waiting to be made where it's just somebody saying that phrase like 100 times in some
yeah,
shape or form. That would be
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
So you sell all kinds of things. Like you have templates, you have a membership, you have a high ticket kind of agency that you run things through. For a video creator with 10 to 50,000 followers who's ready to monetize beyond ad revenue, how do you think about which of those offers to build first? Like I know we've touched on this a little bit, but for you, it like did you follow your own advice and start with a low ticket offer, or did you start with the high ticket and then kind of fill things out?
I definitely start with high ticket, and actually, I would recommend the high tickets, especially because like I didn't start out with an audience. I mean, we all start with no followers and no audience, and so it makes no sense to create a low ticket offer if you don't have an audience. I mean, you can have it and like hope here and there someone buys it, but I see people make that mistake all the time. They have no real audience or no real brand. They're like, oh my god, I'm gonna create all these digital products, and it's like maybe every blue moon someone will buy it, and it's like, was that really worth it? And so starting with a high ticket is great, and in my opinion easier because you need less people, and it gives you a bit of a foundation, whether that's recurring or one-offs, and you don't need a huge audience because again you don't need high volume. And then as you build your brand more and more, that's when you can have low ticket offers, because I didn't have low ticket offers probably like for the longest. Even when I had an audience, I was like, oh, I don't care for creating templates and stuff. But when I started my YouTube channel, that's kind of when it changed, because YouTube is a lot more passive, and a lot of people would ask me, oh, I want this, I want that, and I was like, well, you know what, let me just templatize what we already use and charge a small fee for it, and everyone's happy at the end of the day.
Do you think there's a difference between platforms and what people are willing from those platforms are willing to spend when they find a creator they like? So like for example, somebody who follows you on Instagram, are they willing to pay you more than somebody who finds you via YouTube or maybe TikTok?
So I think it depends on the offer. Um, I would say TikTok the least. I feel like TikTok is very much top of funnel. I mean, I might be a bit biased. I'm not the biggest TikTok fan, but YouTube, the difference is that it lives and works for you. So when people buy templates, I am probably either asleep, I'm filming the next video, I'm only posting one video a week, not like Instagram where I'm posting, posting, posting. And so I don't even think I promote my templates really on Instagram. They really live on YouTube. And on Instagram, we're more focused on high ticket offer or the recurring membership. So I think that's where the difference is. But any client who wants to do low ticket and wants it to be more passive, I tell them get on YouTube. Like, don't worry about Instagram because you're gonna be on a hamster wheel pushing a low ticket offer, low ticket templates, especially if it's not recurring. You're gonna be pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and it won't necessarily be worth it in terms of the return.
Okay, I know we're coming up on time, but I want to quickly do like a quick lightning round. So I've got a few quick questions for you, just fast answers if you can think of them. What's the best platform for a brand new creator in 2026?
YouTube.
One tool that you can't run your agency without.
ClickUp.
What's the biggest social media myth right now?
That more views equals better content.
Oh, okay. And what is one account that every creator should be following and studying right now?
Probably say Gary V.
Man, he's so good.
I've
His stuff
studied
is
him
so
forever.
good right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought Jab 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 Right Hook as a pre-sale book. When did that come out? Like mid 2010s, I think.
Yeah.
And have been consuming his content, and it just he always kind of hits, and like his stuff will come in waves. It seems like with my algorithm, but his stuff is so good. I don't know if it's the algorithm targeting me, but all of his content about live shopping and pushing people to do like Whatnot and TikTok, sell on TikTok live and sell on TikTok shop. I'm like, am I missing another gold rush? I have severe FOMO, and I'm like, that's not my wheelhouse or my area of expertise. I've certainly dabbled in that world before, but I'm like, am I missing something? Like Gary's shouting at me about it. Should I be listening?
He's always ahead of the curve too. I think the biggest thing about live, because I see it everywhere too, not even just from him, but everyone's kind of talking about it. I think the biggest thing of live is that you can't fake a live. So you know, an AI live. I think that's the biggest thing. But yeah, I think it's only gonna roll out more and more. And I think in general, it's more community rather than just live. Live is like you can interact live. There's communities similar to where you have a membership. All people care about is the live, right? The calls, so it does make sense from that perspective. But how that will play out for other offers that aren't necessarily TikTok shop, I'm curious to see.
Do you ever go live on social media?
I used to a lot more. My YouTube girl used to push me for it, and I started doing it, but there's so much we're already doing in content that I definitely had to kind of slow down and pick my battles. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's hard. Do you do it within your membership, like live coaching with your members?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I find that so valuable.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite part too, because for them it's the most valuable, and it's pretty low effort too on whoever's presenting. But we did even increase the frequency, and I'm most likely going to increase that even more, because I know that's mainly what keeps people. There's accountability and a community. So I told my membership last week, like, out of gratitude, as much as you're here for you and to learn, this is also for me. Like, I love having you guys as community, and we're going through the same things at different levels.
I love that. Well, Milou, this has been incredibly valuable. Where should people go if they want to work with you, learn more, or follow you?
Yeah, you can head over to my Instagram. That's by my name, Milou Pietersz. You can send me a DM, check out our website and all of that good stuff. But I live in Instagram. So if you send me a DM, I'll respond to you and have a conversation.
I love it. Well, all of Milou's links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much to everyone listening, and we'll see you in the next one.